We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak, former senior officer of the Indian Air Force, Mr. Ravi Kumar Gupta, former scientist and director at the DRDO, also joins us on the program. Major General Shashi Asthana, former DG Infantry, also with us on the broadcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kak, it's very, very evident that the Prime Minister went to this particular location because he not only did not want to debunk the lies that Pakistan has been pushing to its own people and to the international media, he also wanted to make a very special point. He wanted to make a very specific point that India does not lie when it comes to its pursuits. India does not fabricate when it comes to its resolve to target terrorism and its AKAs, and that's exactly what will happen if Pakistan dares to do it again. Sir.
Vineet, very clearly, firstly, there is no surprise of the Prime Minister's visit to Adampur because he, over the last 11 years, has clearly demonstrated grand mastery over time and space and locale from where he will make messages, whether it's domestically, whether it's a particular institution or the whole world. So in a sense, Adampur was a very good choice for 2 or 3 reasons. One, that there were Chinese media reports that Adampur had been made out of action. And as you rightly pointed out, his presence at Adampur and addressing the air warriors was a very significant signaling to the armed forces of India, and he congratulated them, as you would have observed, for the mastery with which they were able to overwhelm Pakistan, and no amount of disinformation, duplicity, or combined with China type of a propaganda offensive all over the world is going to neutralize India's capability, so well demonstrated all over. I think also in many ways he has congratulated the armed forces. He has talked about, the matter of detail is important. Detailing in strategic communications and information warfare, especially at the level of the Prime Minister, is highly admirable. He's talking about the effectiveness of the air defense system. He's talking about Indian Air Force having demonstrated capabilities both in thwarting an attack by Pakistan through very, very integrated joint air defense system whose worth has been more than proven. That's the grand lesson of this war. And secondly, following from that, the type of neutralization of the air defenses in Pakistan, he fleetingly alluded to that. And then also he talked about offensive, which was the targeting of the key infrastructure of terror in Pakistan, the terror managers, the terrorists, the terror handlers, and also signaling through this approach to New India. He made this very, very key observation about the New India post-Pahalgam attack and 5-day-long conflagration, that there is a new norm. There is a shift in the doctrine that any attack will be from the terrorists in Pakistan, wherever it takes place, whatever the scale, whatever the magnitude, will be taken as an act of war. And that's the allusion he made, and very categorically, without a shade of doubt, said how proud he is of the Indian Armed Forces, addressing the armed forces from an air base post the 5-day conflagration. I think this is grand messaging and was very well required, particularly when the articles in the Telegraph of UK, Le Monde, Reuters, then the Chinese media article which talked about the PL-15 and how it has been so effective in downing aircraft, and yet Prime Minister didn't make a reference to it, but a dud PL-15 not far from Adampur is lying on the ground without having struck an Air Force fighter, and therefore proving that it is a missile which can be a dud. I think I'll end here. If there are any further questions, we can, so that the other panelists have time to respond to your question.
Big screen. I'm going to try and show you what exactly India has done in this case, and why is it so important to understand that Pakistan continues to lie, and Pakistan continues to in fact get onto a tangent which is unsustainable for themselves. In fact, I'm going to go over there in just a moment. But the fact of the matter is, General Asthana, that it's important that the Prime Minister has spoken at a time and place, sir, which is self-assuring to the Indians, but it is also not so assuring for the Pakistanis.
Certainly, this visit and this speech, besides being a big morale booster to the troops, to the air warriors, and to everybody who has been involved with Operation Sindoor, is also a strategic speech and a strategic messaging to rest of the world and Pakistan in particular, and also the other neighbor, that is China. The place selected this is the age of information warfare, as was brought out. And in this age of information warfare, and it's also an age of psychological warfare and perception building, Pakistan has worked very hard to sell their narrative all over the world. And the Western countries have also worked very hard to sell their narrative in a manner that which is not in the best interest of India, for the simple reason because they have to sell their weapons. And Pakistan used some Western weapons and some Chinese weapons. So both these countries had some axe to grind in their propaganda campaign, which suits Pakistan. And therefore, it was required to be rebutted. So therefore, he landing up there and making a speech with those aircrafts being there with S-400, which as far as the media, other media is concerned, they have said that no, they have been destroyed. And the airfield itself, functionality of the airfield. So everything gets proved just from the place of the visit and the place he made the speech. Then is the important thing which he gave. There are three messages which he gave very clearly. That hereafter, any terror attack, we will choose the time, the method, and the place of our choosing to respond, and we will respond. And secondly, we will not tolerate a nuclear blackmail. He underlined three things. And the third one was that the terrorists, we will not treat terrorists and the sponsors differently. Both will be treated alike and will be treated as such. And therefore, and he also thanked everyone who is who was engaged with Operation Sindoor in any manner, whether it is technician or airmen or the air warriors or land forces or naval forces and BSF and everyone, and also scientists, and I think everybody was involved because see, in today's world, Operation Sindoor, the entire national power or comprehensive national power gets utilized, and every citizen, and let me also put it that even citizens are also important, and therefore a message from Prime Minister, because Prime Minister represents 140 crores of people of India, and when he speaks to troops take it that when he is proud of, that means 140 people, 140 crore people are proud of, and when he thanks the armed forces, it is on behalf of 150.
And General Asthana, it's obviously very, very apparent at this point in time that these lies that are coming out of Pakistan, they are out of desperation, because anybody can use Google Maps and focus on this damage. Even a normal Pakistani can analyze from Google Map if they know exactly where these coordinates are and see this damage for themselves. Why would a country put up this kind of a show? Is baffling to me. That's why I'm hoping for Sena voices to explain how does this justify anything.
See, the problem is, was there a choice with Asif Munir but to say what he said, or the simple reason and to launch the propaganda of the kind? See, Chinese have a problem because if their air defense has not worked, then nobody is going to buy it unless they put some false propaganda. If F-16 has not been able to do something, that means Americans also have some problem, and same is the case with the other weapons. So there is a issue there that for the sake of credibility of their systems and credibility of this army. The biggest problem is that the Western countries want to keep this army afloat in some manner or the other, Pakistani army. The reason is they need Pakistan's strategic space in case they would need any option against Iran. Then the land route and the land sustenance and logistics has to go through Karachi airport, and that strategic space is needed. And also in case of Al Qaeda or IS or somebody. So therefore, whom do they deal with? Now they can't deal with politicians because they are transitory and they can change. So they find that this is the only institute which can do two things. One is assure our strategic need, and second is protect the nuclear weapons. Now these two things make this army important. So what they think is that it should not be disseminated to a level that these two things become risky. That is their problem. Chinese problem is slightly different. In addition to, firstly, their 70% of their equipment is in Pakistan, and the moment this equipment does badly, they also have a problem of selling the equipment. Number one. Number two, this strategic space, earlier they were very happily sharing with America, but now they are finding it difficult to share. So they were also very unhappy the way America jumped in for no rhyme or reason. As far as India is concerned, Prime Minister Modi has clarified that neither we wanted mediation, nor we are interested in mediation, nor we are interested in Kashmir talks. So from Indian side, it has been clarified. But their problem is that Chinese thought that, and America still, although China has given so much of loan to Pakistan that they think that Pakistan is a colony, which it is. But even America has got a fair amount of leverage because all these generals, their properties and their families are in USA. They just have to stop the visa and everybody falls in line. So there are some leverages which USA still controls. And that is the reason why both of them are now, they don't want it to be disseminated beyond a point. And that is where perhaps they thought that let's help them out from the information warfare side, the way they helped Ukraine, and also from the side of, shall I say, helping them out to in reaching out to India or otherwise. Vineet.
You're absolutely right. Mr. Gupta, the Prime Minister has taken this opportunity and it's a stark message to Pakistan, isn't it? That it's not the same India that they've been troubling for the past few decades. It's not the India of 26/11. It's not the India of the Parliament attacks, where Aman ki Asha is only in fiction. It's never going to happen in fact. India has also made it very, very clear, sir, that we will talk about POK, we will talk about terrorism, and nothing else will be spoken of. And the Pakistani army is so foolish, for the lack of a better word. They had to attend that terrorist funeral. They had to, in fact, send their defense minister to say that, yes, we've been playing this dirty game for many decades for the United States and the United Kingdom. These things have only worked in India's favor. You don't need India to do much. Pakistan is shooting itself in the foot regularly.
Definitely, Vineet. First of all, I fully agree with whatever my two predecessors, the panelists have spoken. Every word, I fully agree with them. I support that. The matter of fact is that the Honorable Prime Minister's visit to Adampur, it's a very, very strong message, sending multiple signals, which most of these messages, they have been very amply highlighted by the previous speakers. Now, I would like to also highlight another point here. There is definitely a paradigm shift. It's a big, major shift in our doctrine that enough is enough. And as far as Aman is concerned, yes, India has been a peaceful nation, always wanting peace. Shanti जभी होती है जब शक्ति होती है. तो ये मैसेज हमने भेज दिया है. We have used our force, which was sufficient enough to maybe decimate entire Pakistan in a matter of the next few days or at the most weeks. But at the same time, we followed restraint. So we have demonstrated that we have power, and we also know how to use the power to establish peace. That is very important signal. Now coming to the way this Pakistani people, the military, their politicians, their media, the way they have been behaving, the first thing we have to understand that is it Pakistan as such. I ask the question, what is Pakistan? Is it the Pakistani army, or is it the ISI, or is it the president or the prime minister, or is it a bunch of terrorist organizations? Who is controlling Pakistan? And to my understanding, I may be wrong, the controlling point is not, as on date, not even America, the controlling point is China. And China had pumped in a large number of arms into Pakistan.
So there's also theory, sir, that's coming out that Pakistan reached this ceasefire with India without consulting China, and they're pretty square with Pakistan about it.
I think these are all posturing. These messages are floated to divert the attention. The matter of fact is that the real controller is China. And of course, as you said, that the way the Pakistani people, the army people, the big top brass, they attended the funeral of the terrorists. Perhaps, well, apparently it looked like it is a stupidity that the country's army people, they are attending the funeral of a terrorist. But if you think it from the point of view of the army of Pakistan, they didn't want to send a message to the world or to India or to America. They needed to send message to certain community which is dominant in the power politics of Pakistan, and that they have sent that yes, we are with terror. The world needs to see it. If the world wants to keep facing terror attacks, and India is not the only country which has been facing the terror attacks. There are many other countries which have had significantly, damaging terror attacks which originated on a land called Pakistan. They call it Pakistan, but I think they have been behaving in the most napak fashion. But coming back to China, the important point is that China during the past 40, 50 years, they have not faced any major war. After 62, they have not faced any major war directly. And during these years, especially during the last 25 to 30 years, they have made tremendous progress in terms of defense technology. They have come out with a large number of systems which we have seen getting decimated in this war. The problem is India is, of course, it is an enemy for China, but at the same time, China's ambitions are not just controlling India. Their ambitions are coming at par with America and becoming the superpower. And those ambitions cannot be fulfilled unless it is economically as strong as America, militarily as strong as America. And it had to get some of the arms and ammunition tested in the real war condition. In my opinion, the Pahalgam incident, to whatever happened till date, it was being planned and controlled by China. Their basic aim was they had to test these high-end weapons, which they have not done. Now what happens is, let us not underestimate China or Chinese weapons. They have made a lot of technological progress, and which is reflected in their kind of a fantastic manufacturing base. Even the countries like America, it cannot afford to completely offend China, because if China stops supplies of, we are seeing this happening in COVID, the entire supply chain of American industry is dependent on supplies from China. So it has made progresses, but these weapon systems need to be tested in the real war. And this is what America has been doing in the last 70 years since the World War II. Every, you can say, 7 to 8 years or 10 years, you will see a major war where American weapons get tested. And they update their data, they come up with more and more new weapon systems. The same thing now China is trying to do. We have started this thing with Indo-Pak War, which has we have a few days, we have seen what is the outcome of this.
Okay.
Most of the China's weapons have failed. But let us not let us not be complacent. They will, in my assessment, they will be working overnight and they have collected a volume of data. See, all this, when you have to update your weapon system, the most important, the crucial, apart from the technology, is the data. How does it actually work in the real environment? Like in our countries, we do in the RDU, we carry out lots and lots of simulations. That they also might be doing it. But the ultimate test comes and the data comes when it is used in the actual war condition.
Right, sir.
So they will now quickly update their systems, the same very systems which have failed. There is a likelihood that maybe in a matter of few weeks to few months, they may come up, upgrade these systems, and mind you, they have not given the high-end systems. The same JF 10 or 17 or whatever missiles, they have failed in Pakistan. Similar ones, the other versions, the advanced versions are there with China. So now China will update them also, because in case tomorrow there is a war between China and Taiwan, then it need to be very sure that what is the effectiveness of those weapons. So for China, it was a big game, and China has got what it wanted. It wanted the data, it has got the data.
Okay, fair enough. Air Vice Marshal Kak, India has categorically made a paradigm shift in its doctrine when it comes to dealing with Pakistan. Do you expect that being the copycat that Pakistan is, it's also going to have such superficial announcements in the future?
No, you're right. It's more than likely. But, the idea is, as the famous British poet T.S. Eliot said, between the idea and the reality falls the shadow. And that is the shadow Pakistanis are aware of. You can use words as substitutes for inadequacies, but words do not mean statecraft. Statecraft is developed over years of study, reflection, evaluation, analysis. And I think that is attempts will be made, but I think, like in everything else, they fail. Just two or three points which merit attention. I would like to respectfully disagree that Pahalgam was planned by China. No, I'm not going to go along that pathway. Pahalgam was planned at the end of nearly 6 years of hiatus, where the relationship between the two countries had been frozen. General Asim Munir, as he's now well known as a jihadi general, inclined towards deep Islamism, political Islam, and complete unacceptance of secularism and more positive liberalism, which is visiting the world. And when he realized that the security window for Pakistan had closed, international relations window had closed, economy window had almost shut months ago. It was only a question of every Pakistani now, next few generations, having to pay back the loans which were taken by 2 generations before. Realizing all this, and the fact that India had been able to succeed to an extent while alienation existed in J&K, but a sense of normalcy had been brought about there, and Kashmiris were more inclined to be integrated with India, subject to certain conditions that their honor, their respect, and their identity would be respected. And that is what we witnessed immediately in the aftermath of Pahalgam. Before any security forces reached there, it was the local Kashmiris who rushed to the aid of the tourists, brought them to safety, took them to their own homes. I'm narrating this because Pakistan had realized that there is no luck in terms of any possibility of talks. The Indian government is very clear that they will not talk until terrorism stops. So therefore terror had to be brought in. Why did Asim Munir bring the terror attack in Pahalgam? Very, very obvious. It doesn't require rocket science. I don't think the scientist sitting on our panel would need to use his knowledge there. It was done so that Kashmir comes back to the international table. It was done because India and Pakistan had over the years got dehyphenated, and now this was an attempt. The whole world would look back at India and Pakistan being at war and therefore getting hyphenated. It was also done to get Pakistan's focus back in the international domain. Unfortunately, hugely negatively, because if anything else, Pakistan has been proven more and more as a terrorist state which does this kind of a monkey business in today's world, and cannot this time get away with it because the Indian reaction has been so strong, so powerful. And I think the message that has gone needs to be re-emphasized. Prime Minister alluded to this in his talk at address at Adampur, that we are not distinguishing between a terrorist and the planners and the supporters, which means it's an indirect reference that in case next time around this type of a thing happens, it won't be the terror infrastructure, it could well be the planners and the supporters of terrorism who lie not far from where the anti-terror attacks from our side took place, which is in the Chaklala area, very close to ISI and the GH2, the most critical part, center of gravity of Pakistan. Last 2-3 quick points. One is the US. We have not talked so much about the US. We've seen that the international, or rather, power politics is going through a dynamic of evolution and rapid change. Our relations with Trump 1 are seemingly, as of now, different from Trump 2. And we see Trump speaking one language, and we see Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance as vice president speaking quite another language. Trump says that I was up all night and they've been fighting for 1,000 years, complete, absolute rubbish, and then says that, I've told them I'll stop trade. Again, absolutely untrue. Now, if we are in a state where the leader of the most powerful country in the world is mercurial, is unpredictable, and is not even giving facts to the world. He's living in another world. So here is the point. And I think this is not the first time that Pakistan has been helped by the United States. I was involved at one time, but there's no need to make reference to that, with the high-level contacts between the air forces of the two sides on a track 2 basis. The Obama, as president of the US, helped Pakistan with what was the first most advanced air-to-air missile. We are talking so much about PL-15, but it was Obama's administration which gave to Pakistan the AIM-9-120 advanced air-to-air missile, which actually put Indian Air Force at a huge disadvantage at that point of time, because we did not have a missile which could match the AIM-9-120. So there's so much to speak about so-called friends and partners and major non-NATO allies,
Right, sir.
and so much business to do in the Asia-Pacific region.
Right, sir. Right,
so
sir.
one has to be very careful in our relationship. We have to have our guard completely up there. We have to ensure that Pakistan is not allowed any space for doing the kind of business is done over the years.
Right,
but
sir.
at the same time, we must look
So we
ahead.
have a paucity of time, sir. Quickly want to rope in
okay.
General Asthana as well for his concluding thoughts, and then we wrap up. General Asthana, quickly, sir.
Okay, I totally agree with what Air Marshal has said. I also don't think that it was Chinese direction to launch a terror attack in Pahalgam. They would have been covering up the terror attacks of Pakistan in UNSC. That's a separate issue, and maybe perhaps helping them out, but certainly not in the manner in which not directly. So that's one part of it. The second thing which I just want to say is that I think in the messaging, our Prime Minister gave a lot of other messages also, like when we say he reiterated that terror and talk will not go together, number one. So that means as far as talks are concerned, he is quite clear in what he wanted to speak. He also reiterated that in the previous speech, very clearly that, okay, this may not be the era of war, which he mentioned earlier, which he has been mentioning many times, but this is also not an era of terrorism. And therefore, a speech towards the global terrorism. And then another, when taking up to the global level, he also mentioned in the previous speech very clearly to say that these terrorists are not harming only India, but they are harming others as well. And therefore the connection with Daniel Pearl's murderers and all other things become evident. So therefore these terrorists, taking on these terrorists is a global cause. It's a global war against terrorism. And that also perhaps was indicated in his speech, which is also quite significant. And I think the American issue he dealt very maturely. Yesterday he didn't make even a mention of that. And also, I think the way he spoke, he has given it very clearly that we have done it. We had an aim, we completed our aim, and thereafter we have paused the operations. And should something else happen, we will resume the operations and not the ceasefire, as President Trump has said, complete ceasefire, etc., and lasting ceasefire. I don't know what all he said. So I think he has indirectly he has rebuffed the claims which President Trump made. Vinny.
Janastana, it's important to understand. You're absolutely right that the Americans have taken credit for it, and there's also desperation, I believe, in the American administration at this point in time to stop at least one war, isn't it?
Certainly, because President Trump wanted some success on stopping war. It was not working out with Russia-Ukraine. It did not work out too well with Hamas also. With his ideas there were no takers of his idea of making Gaza Rivera or something, or transporting all the Gazans from there. So now in this particular case, he thought that there is an opportunity. The Pakistanis are seeking desperately a ceasefire, and if I step in, and they cannot talk to India. So if I step in, then there is a chance for me to take credit. This is exactly what he did. So he did convey the message, but then I think India was quick enough to understand this uninvited mediation.